It's a little humbling to know that most of you have come to meet Dr. Ravi Kannan and hear him talk about his journey where he has experienced the reality of cancer. Many doctors who promised to come are not here this morning, but like Ravi talked about the wonders of technology, I'm sure they'll be waiting for a YouTube or a Facebook clip on the proceedings of the morning. I've been tasked with 3 things. 1, to talk about the reality of cancer, and very importantly, of bridging the gap. The next is to introduce Ravi and Sita. Ravi, I wish you both would come a little forward. I can't even see you. Thank you. And if Rupa and Satinder would come and sit here, please. Thank you. Let me talk about the reality of cancer first. This is not an academic subject for most of us. We are a group who have experienced cancer. We've seen the good and the ugly sides of this disease. I don't like calling it a dreaded disease because I really think that we are slowly but surely getting a grip on it. I was thinking yesterday of some examples that have touched me over the many years that I've been doing this. Ravi, I'll start with your own story. You quoted this couple coming to your hospital, accompanied by a small boy. You told them that everything would be taken care of. All they needed to do was to deposit 5,000 rupees. And the mother and son went back, and the father, who was the patient, was admitted. 5,000 rupees must have seemed like such a small amount. It does to us. We might buy a sari for that amount, or go out on a date for that amount. So when you asked it, it must have seemed like a very small amount. But what did it seem like for that woman? When she came back, she came alone. And when you asked her where the boy was, she said that she had sold or placed him with the local moneylender. That story really touched me very, very deeply. Because one of the realities of cancer, not just the disease, but the cost, and what we consider as nothing, which can become a huge amount to the patient receiving it. We see many patients. They come to our office. They come mainly from AIMS and IRCH. Of course, from a lot of other places. Now, the irony is that we make rules. I'm never sure who the rules are for. Are they for the benefit of the patient? Are they for protection for us, for the doctors, for the hospital? Because we have a form that we require every patient to fill. Very often, a doctor will not sign that form. All we want is a certification that this is a genuine patient and needs the help that is demanded or requested. But the hospital rule says, government hospitals, that a doctor cannot sign that. So what do? We don't want to send him back. So we try to get around it by saying, okay, give us your OPD card and we'll photocopy it and keep that as proof. At the end of the day, it's not our money. It comes from people like Dr. Gogte and his Cipla. It comes from people like all of you who make donations to us. We are accountable to you, but we are also accountable to the patient. And all we ask for is a little bit of help, one signature, which allows us to treat your patient, doctors, your patients, and you can continue with the treatment. I'll give you one more example. This time it's one of our own. 2 years ago, Rashi, you will remember, standing next to you was a very lovely woman, Malika. The seminar was on qualitative survivorship. We honored all of you who had brought a quality to your lives. Can you please sit down, whoever you are? It was to honor qualitative survivors, people who had left cancer behind and who were moving on with life, getting on with everything. Malika was there as a qualitative survivor. Today, she's in an ICU bed, shrunken, sick, and every day we get a new report. She's got diarrhea, she's got pneumonia, she needs this, she needs that. That is a reality too. So while we honor the survivors who have completed the journey and carried on, we do not forget those who have faltered. Is it her fault? Yes. She came with a late presentation of her disease. The doctors did their best, but a metastasis occurred, went to her brain, went to her spine. We don't know whether she'll survive. But as long as she's alive, can we say to her family, take her home and let her die? I don't know. I know that that is perhaps the practical way of doing it, but it's not my way. And I don't think it's the way of many of us sitting here in the room. These are realities. Cost, legal issues. Malika has a bank account. She was an earning woman. But her sister cannot access that money because she doesn't have a will. What do we do for patients who have not written a will? And I'll remind each one of you, please write a will, even if you're in the pink of health. You never know when that will be called upon to help you in your dark days. Insurance. Take out insurance. That is a reality of cancer. The expenses are so much that it is necessary to ensure that there is an insurance policy which will cover at least some of them. At least it will lessen the worry and the pain of the caregiver who wants to do something but is unable because they have run out of cash. Another reality of cancer is gender. I hate to say this because there are many good men in this room, but the fact of the matter is nobody sells the family jewels for a wife. They'll do it for the bread earner, the man. They'll do it for the child because it's the future. But a wife, oh, I can get another wife. Right? These are the realities of cancer. I know I've got Nidhi, is it, from Tech Mahindra, who are trying to make sure that cancer survivors get jobs, get trained for jobs. They're doing skill training. You should call them. Everybody needs a skill and a job at a difficult time. You should have the capacity to deliver. I think I've depressed you all enough. So now let me talk about solutions. Today's seminar has 3 groups of people to talk about solutions. In the first, we talk of what we think is one of the most important items in the journey of cancer, and that is hand-holding somebody who will take care of you. The second is the actual journey, the journey of treatment. And there are people here who will talk about it. When I started working, my mentor, Dr. Jasawala, said, all we can offer is slash, burn, and poison. The doctors here will recognize slash, surgery, burn through radiation, and poison through the chemo drugs. Today we have got the hope of immunotherapy, of gene therapy, other therapies that are coming up, new injections. But they cost so much, so that circle comes again. Who can afford it? That is one more reality of cancer. The final segment today will be of rehabilitation, because that is a very, very important part of our cancer journey. We can, all of you survivors here, God bless you, you're blessed. You are able to get on with your lives. But many others who cannot, we need to help them to overcome this feeling that, oh, if you talk to somebody and say, who are you? And the person answers, I'm a cancer survivor, or I'm a cancer victim. We have not done our job. We have to make them say, I am so-and-so, and I do so-and-so going forward. Which brings me to introducing you, Ravi, because that's exactly what you told me. I asked this man, can we have his biodata there, please? I can't read it myself, but everyone else can. So I will speak about what I know about you. I called this man and I said, I need a biodata. He says, oh, just say Director CCF, that's all. I said, but where did you study? That's all past, ma'am. You got a Padma Shri, you got a Raman Magsaysay Award, wo bhi piche reh gaya. And now I'm only the director of CCF. So Ravi, we've done a little kuredoing. And I'm going to tell these people what I know about you. This is a services brat. His father was in the Air Force. Now that gives him a straight advantage. Because he's grown up knowing what it is to move from one place to another, right? To living in really grotty accommodation, right? Yeah. And moving from school to school, right? So now he goes to college in Chennai, the Kilpauk Medical College. I lived in 1 Kelly's Road, not far away. He goes to college there. He goes on to join the RDR Cancer Institute I don't know what you did in between, so I'm only going by the milestones. He went to the RDR Cancer Institute and my old friend, Dr. Shanta. And RDR Cancer Institute is the nursery of most oncologists in this country, I think. Whether in Chennai, whether in Delhi, we're blessed that we had somebody like her. What else should I say about you? You got an invitation to go to Cachar. And you went there, and clever man, you took your wife with you. And she, who had a good job in Chennai and a fixed address, agrees to going with him and setting up shop in Cachar. They take their daughter, then a little teenager, and she doesn't know a word of Bengali, doesn't know a word of Assamese, but they put her to school over there. Today, that child is a postgraduate in medicine. And we have Sita, his wife here, whom I particularly want to mention and honor. She has gone there. She's another one. What are your qualifications, Sita? Don't worry, ma'am, I only run the foundation. So that's all I know. She runs the Cancer Foundation there, but she must be the one who finds the resources to keep the patients coming to you. I'll leave him to tell us about Cachar, but the fact is that there was no proper hospital until these two people went there and got something working there. I will ask Rupinder, our Joint Secretary, Patient Navigation, to honor Ravi, and I will ask Satinder to please honor Sita.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ravi Kannan.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you to the Indian Cancer Society for inviting Sita and me to participate in this morning's program. Thank you for the introduction and the embarrassment. So, people often remark, "Oh, Ravi, you've done something remarkable." But the truth is, Ravi Kannan has not done anything remarkable. Remarkable things happen when all of us join hands together and work towards a common purpose. One man or one institution cannot really change the world. If I start thinking like that, then nobody is more foolish than me. And what I would like to do today is to take you through some of those collaborative efforts. Everything that we have done there has been supported by many, many people. I may not be able to mention everybody, but I will try and tell you what happened. So we work in a town called Silchar, which is in the south of Assam, which is on the eastern side of Bangladesh. Bangladesh pops up in the middle, and Kolkata is southwest of Dhaka, and Silchar is northeast of Dhaka. Dhaka is closer to Kolkata. And when we travel from Kolkata to Silchar, we travel through Bangladesh airspace. And just as the curiosity, the sun rises, all of us know it rises in the east. So it rises earlier in Silchar, and then it rises in Dhaka. But the clock strikes 6 first in Dhaka, and then it strikes 6 in Kolkata, just because we follow one standard time. And like many parts of the country, we have our own share of problems. We have geography, we have terrain, and we have ignorance, we have poverty. The whole country has, every part will have problems. And we have our share, and we have together learned to deal with them. Dr. Rath has been there a number of times, and I want to tell everybody that the Nobel Prize for 1902, the second Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology, was awarded to Dr. Ronald Ross for discovering the malarial parasite. That man, with his intellect and very meager facilities, changed medical history. And he started his work in the tea gardens of Assam. He was there for some time in a tea garden about 30 kilometers from where we are, the Labak tea garden. His microscope, his hand drawings are all kept there, and we can all go and fiddle around with them. You know, in some other country that would have all been kept in a vault, and we'd have had to pay to go and see it. We've still to reach that situation. And I trained at the Cancer Institute, where it was drilled, Dr. Krishnamurthy and Dr. Shanta drilled it into us that if the patient does not have resources to find his or her treatment, it is the job of the treating physician to find them. And every patient would have to be treated for whatever he or she needed, irrespective of their paying capacity. So when we went to Silchar, that is the philosophy we went with. We wanted to make sure that we treated every patient. Dr. Krishnamurthy always used to say that the Cancer Institute does not reside within the four walls of the institute. Wherever the alumni of the institute go, the Cancer Institute is there. And so we took a small part of the Cancer Institute to Silchar with us. And we said low cost, no cost treatment. In order to reduce costs, we had staff who will multitask. We made sure that we present a poor friendly facade every time, making sure that poor patients trust you and come and accept treatment is a 24/7 job, because it's very hard to earn their trust and even harder to retain it continuously. So the way the hospital looks, the way the staff present themselves, the way they talk, the way if they stop you somewhere, we have to address that problem then and there. If you say something a little harshly, it will frighten them. They will just simply run away. And so we had to adopt a variety of strategies to reassure the poor man that this hospital would take care of them. And that is what we did in the beginning. This child had a ALL. She is a little around 10 years, not in a favorable group. She came with paraplegia. And we started treatment, and the paraplegia disappeared. She achieved, those days we didn't have access to bone marrow for a minimal residual disease and all that, but on hematology she had achieved a remission, and she had to go into maintenance therapy. The only caregiver available was the grandmother. This boy is another child with another leukemia. Now this grandmother was the only caregiver available. She came from one of the jungle dwellings in Tripura. She said she would come back. She took the granddaughter and went home and never came back. And we have no idea of what happened to her. And this is a very, very common occurrence. And so this is what now I'm in retrospect able to, this is not how we went ahead. So we said we have to brand ourselves as pro-poor. We have to make sure we reduce costs everywhere. We have to so for poor people, if you say today you see them, say come back tomorrow for an endoscopy. Tomorrow you do a biopsy, say come back 3 days later for a biopsy. Pathology says tissue is not adequate, repeat the biopsy. We repeat a biopsy, come after 3 more days. Then we say immunohistochemistry is needed, come after 5 days. Then we say, oh, you need us. If we keep doing this, poor people will run away. They lose wages. And so we have to fast forward treatment. Then we have to use technology. Why? Technology is a great leveler. And then we have to, with all of this, if we treat poor people, it does not mean we provide poor quality care. That would be fraud. Poor people deserve, have a right to the same quality of care that rich people do. And all of this we must do while improving the acceptance to care. Now, this is what we started, and we started as a small cancer hospital. We were 20 beds, 23 staff. And while doing all of this over the years, we have grown into 146 beds. We have 480 staff. We are spread over 5 campuses. And I would like to tell you and all of this happened, believe me, it did not happen because of Ravi, Kannan and Sita. It happened because there are many, many people, seen, unseen, heard, unheard, people who would have never ever come there, who have very generously come forward to support. And this is a story I want to tell you of how people have come together to make this happen in a remote part of this country. And so when I joined in June of 2007, we had no morphine at that time, and a large number of our patients were terminally ill. They required morphine. And Dinesh, who was a palliative care physician in Bibarua Cancer, I knew him earlier from my Cancer Institute days. We were in June. Sita remarks, in July, we had the first visitors to our house. Dinesh and Kabindra came. They ran a workshop on morphine awareness. He advised me to call. Those days, the morphine laws were convoluted. We had to go through multiple rounds of paperwork. He advised us to call the excise commissioner. So Mr. Singh, who was the excise commissioner, came. He came in July and did the workshop. Somewhere end of September, we had our morphine license. The same year, we had visitors. We were the director of NIT was a friend of ours because his wife had a breast cancer, and so she organized for people from the CPAA, Cancer Patients Aid Association, to come and visit us in Silchar. They did a workshop this was the first activities that happened, and then they ran a workshop in Mumbai, and Debu, who was then our pharmacist, went there to learn more about caring for patients, and then that is how the whole process started. And then Debu went all of this happened in 2007 and 2008. After he came back from CPAA, there was a Pallium India Iowa Fellowship where they were hosting people from different parts of the country in Trivandrum, and Debu went for that, and that is how our whole palliative care story started. The other thing, this is an autoclave. This autoclave has a story. When I went to Silchar, I had no administrative experience. I had no experience with finances. I didn't know how to recruit people. I didn't know how to create facility. All I knew was cancer surgery, and I had an idea what a cancer center should be. It should have pathology, it should have radiology, it should have a register. That's all I knew. I had no idea what happens. We were operating, and in the middle of surgery, an instrument that I was using fell on the ground. What will do? Don't worry, sir, we'll get you. 10 minutes later, the instrument is back on the table. I was impressed. What? In this place, you have a flash autoclave. She looked at me. What is this man saying? She had no idea what I was saying. And I didn't know what she was doing. Anyway, surgery got over. I went to investigate what happened. And you won't believe we didn't have an autoclave. All the instruments were being boiled. Half the instruments were out of the water. And whatever boils, boils. And when an instrument falls on the floor, they would pour spirit and set it on fire. And that is the way sterilization was happening. But honestly, in this closed ground, I'm telling you, infection rates were not very much higher. But then I was horrified. I could not imagine that we were running a theater. This was sometime in November, about 5-6 months had elapsed since we joined. And I could not imagine that we were actually operating without autoclaving. It was anathema to me. I had no money, so I called Harit. Harit was my friend who is here in Delhi, And he gave me the first autoclave. He also didn't know how to go about buying it. So he called Ghanshyam, his secretary, and told him, Ravi Kannan ko ek autoclave chahiye. Ghanshyam looked around and got an autoclave and said, this autoclave is still functioning. This was 2008, and we still use this autoclave. We now have more better autoclaves, but this is important. The other picture that I put is, early 2008, we had some meeting, and so somebody from the ICMR center in Dibrugarh came, and some of my friends from Chennai came. When we were moving to Chennai, everybody was dead against the idea. What are these people? The family, her parents and my parents, the mothers were out of their mind. What is happening? They should not be going. And my colleagues were also not very happy with the idea because they thought this was going to be professional harakiri. But then I came because I had the soul. I knew if I were to falter, if I were to fall, my colleagues, Ayyappan and Vikas and Ramanan would hold me. I had solid backing. With Ramanan, we don't have a medical oncologist. Every day we talk on the phone. Sometimes Ramanan jokes, Ravi, you and I talk more than we talk to our spouses. But then there is we were in a difficult place, but we had help. And help that was very spontaneously forthcoming. And then the next year, in 2009, this is out of the blue, unsolicited, the Indo-American Cancer Association, Dr. Vinay Jain was the president of the association at that time. He called us and he said he would offer us support to start a division of palliative care. So he offered support to send a doctor and a nurse to Trivandrum, to Pallium, India for training. And so Iqbal was an anesthetist, and he used to come and give anesthesia. He was working in the medical college on a temporary post. The government notification had come, and he was first on the selection list for a permanent position. And I used to keep telling Iqbal, come join us. Aaja Iqbal, we need a lot. So Iqbal would torn between the two ends. One end there was government posting, secure posting he would have. And on the other hand, this man is calling. So he happened to come to Delhi, to the AIIMS for a pain management program. The professor of anesthesia at AIIMS was conducting a pain management program. And he asked me, should I go? I said, Joe. So he came back all fired up. Sir, we can do so much for pain management. And then when this offer from IACA came, Iqbal thought, then he went to his peer is religious Muslim head. So he went to his Peer Baba, and the Peer Baba said, you join the Cancer Institute. I had nothing to say in that. And Iqbal joined us. He continues to be our palliative care physician. And so that is how our palliative care program started. And then the following year, we had to make a presentation on what happened as a result of the support that the Indo-American Cancer Association gave us. Dr. Vinay Jain was in Kolkata, and we went to make up. Iqbal and I went there. And so when we looked at the data over the last year, we found 30% of our patients came back for oral morphine, which means 70% of patients went home and died without adequate palliative care. That means the whole thing was not doing well. But it did not bother us, we were so unrealizing. We didn't realize what was happening. We said, these are all people with advanced disease. They're not coming back, doesn't matter, because they are anyway dying. But people who we were supporting with intent to cure must all be doing well. And we presumed and actually made that statement in front of Dr. Jain, that, people who we are treating with intent to cure are doing well, and that's it. But even as we said that, we realized this is not tested. We had not looked at it. We came back and requested Amit. Amit was our colleague in the registry. He started our registry in the beginning of 2008. And so Amit went back and came back and said, sir, out of 100 people, every 100 people who walk into the hospital, nearly 58% do not come back to your hospital again. They don't come back for a second visit. And out of the 42 that start treatment, only 28 people actually complete treatment. Oh God, what is this? Whatever we were doing was not changing anybody's lives. It was all just waste of, and we were wondering why this is happening. And then We didn't know quality improvement. We didn't know root cause analysis. Nobody taught us all of this. We didn't know how to figure out. So the first thing that after a few months, we realized nearly 80% of our patients are daily wage earners. So we said, they are daily wage earners. Let us start, like Tughlaqs, we said, let us start providing ad hoc employment. So we started providing ad hoc 30 rupees a day plus food for a caregiver. That program is still continuing. We pay 300 rupees plus food for a caregiver. But we thought we have solved the world's problems. Now we started giving them employment and they should all come back for treatment. Then the other thing we also did is we said every patient who leaves the hospital will go with a follow-up date. We'll have an appointment for a review. And we will open the day's appointment list, and whoever we see, the names disappear. Left behind are people who have not come back. Abhijit is our man who takes care of our IT problems, and this is what he devised. And so the following year, we actually proactively audited what is happening, and we found that a little over 50% of patients completed treatment. Not great, but not poor either. In a big city in Chennai or in Mumbai or in Delhi, if a hospital were to say, if the AIIMS were to say, we treat 50% or 60% of patients who come here, it's a very good figure because most people in Delhi come from outstation. They come for a diagnosis, for staging, and for advice on treatment. So the doctor at AIIMS will say, this is the chemotherapy you need. They will go back to their hometowns and have the chemotherapy and come back. Whereas for us, we are the last stop. We are not going to send patients to another hospital so if patients don't have treatment in our place, they go home and die. And so for us, 50-60% was a poor figure. We had to be treating about 80-90% of patients who come into the hospital. Even today, we are not able to do that. We treat a little over 70% of patients who are reporting to the hospital. But then over the years, we put in place measures. We started a pharmacy. There's a huge margin in the pharmacy. You can buy a chemotherapeutic drug for 800 rupees or 1,000 rupees, and the MRP will be 13,000 or 15,000 rupees. So initially, nobody was giving us low-cost drugs. And then for some reason, Khandelwal decided to give us drugs at low cost, and then everybody wanted to start competing for that thing. And so we would buy drugs at low cost, but we would not sell at the MRP. We'll put a small 10% those days. Now we make it 20% to pay salaries of the pharmacist. And so we started low-cost pharmacy. We did a whole lot of things. We would call them on the phone. We started providing employments. We started saying, patients come for reviews to the OPD. We said one payment every month, any number of visits, any number of doctors. But then for poor patients, paying 100 rupees every month is a disincentive. In a year, they would pay 1,200 rupees. 3-4 years they'd have spent. And so we realized that is not going to work. So we quickly redid our math and said one time 500 rupees for a lifetime, no further payment. So immediately, OPD attendances improve. The attendance in the satellite centers improve. We did the same thing for endoscopies, for many things we don't have a second charge at all. So in our mind, whatever we thought, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we audited. To me, the ad hoc employment is a crown of everything that we are doing. That is the most important thing, most impressive according to me. 2-3 years ago, we actually audited what is the impact of that. We found we treated about 3,000 odd patients that year, but we provided employment to less than 330 patients, meaning the employment in itself did not bring a change, but everything that we do, when we reduce costs, when we say there's only one payment, no recurrent payment, when we say when we call them on the phone, every act is actually a confidence building measure. And for poor people, each of these measures adds up, and that is why I think the compliance improves. Then in 2012, Dr. Rajagopal asked me, many of you will know Dr. Rajagopal. Yeah. So he asked me, there is a project called Hamrahi, where a team of Australian physicians can visit you for 2 years. 2 visits in 2 years. Do you want to do it? Yeah, we want to do it. So Dr. David Brumley and 2 of his colleagues visited us in 2012, and then they visited us in 2013, and every year thereafter till COVID came, and then 2 years after COVID last year, they've been coming on their own and spending 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the hospital trying to help us with so many things have happened because of their visit. And so, but nurses, when people from outside come and spend time with nurses, their confidence goes up. Oh, somebody from outside is coming and taking the time to talk to us. And so the palliative care program, and actually 2 of my nurses 2 years ago visited Australia for a palliative care conference. Sarita joined as a A&M nurse and went on to become the supervising nurse of the palliative care service. Then she did her GNM program. She is now doing her bachelor's program. She did a nursing oncology program. She is now the nursing supervisor of the hospital. Achun is a Dai. Dai are people who have been trained for 3 months in small hospitals. In many parts of the country, the system is there to deliver babies at home safely. And so Achun is a Dai who's a Rongmai Naga girl. She doesn't speak Hindi well. She does no English knowledge. Speaks a smattering of Hindi. She was the other nurse who went with Sarita for her visa interview. We had printed our things. I don't speak English, So that's what she used to talk to the visa officer. The 2 of them went to Australia. They spent time in the conference. They went around to other hospitals, and they came back. A lot of learning happened. Learning also happened the other way. So one of the things that the Australian nurses were obsessing were about falls. We must prevent falls. And in our hospital, every patient has a caregiver officially. Even the ICU is an open ICU. Every patient will have an attendant with the patient all the time. So what happens, Sarita has never seen a patient fall. So when they kept talking about falls, Sarita, what is falls? We never. So they explained that patients will fall, the femur will break, and she said, we never have it because all the time we have a caregiver with the patient. So, somebody actually published that in one of the things. And then in 2013, I actually came to Delhi for a palliative care meeting, and I heard Harmala Gupta speak. She spoke about palliative home care, and such a powerful presentation. She explained how Delhi was divided into 7 sectors. Each sector had an ambulance, a driver, a nurse, a physiotherapist, whole team. But what struck me most was that home care program was without cost to the patient. There was no financial transaction. They may have had more resources. That is a totally different story. We also had a home care program doing very badly because all the time we would wonder who will pay for the petrol. Will the patient pay for the drugs used? Will the driver collect the money? Will he give a receipt? Will he? All obsessing about. And so when we went back, we just took a on-the-spot decision. From tomorrow, home care will be without charge. Immediately, the attendant picks up. And that year, when we audited, we found that nearly 70% of patients completed prescribed treatment. Again, another jump. But to me, the bigger thing that happened because of the home care program was, we were the oldest people on campus. All my colleagues are much younger than me, and all of them would be constantly bickering and arguing that patients have money, they come to the hospital and they cry, you write free, and they're all cheating us. When we started making home visits, we also were going for patients who were not coming back to the hospital to see why they are not coming back. And firsthand, my colleagues saw that poverty is real. It is not something that is imagined, or patients are not bluffing. And you cannot just wish it away. And quickly, the whole hospital came on board. Today, when somebody comes and says that they don't have money, nobody asks them to prove their poverty. Okay, they don't have money, how do we handle it? It is okay for us once in a way to be cheated. Most patients don't cheat us. But it will be a terrible thing if we were to decline support to a patient just because we thought they are bluffing. And so that is what happened because of this program. Then Meg O'Brien visited us in 2013, is it? Meg O'Brien and Charu is now in Amrita, visited us for a global access to pain relief initiative study. And they were with us for 2 years on and off. And at the end of it, we said, okay, we've done this program with them. Now we must make sure that we become a pain-free hospital. So we said we will be a pain-free hospital. Everywhere we actually put up, we are a pain-free hospital, and we actually invite visitors to go and talk to patients in the ward and find out if they have pain. We believe that pain must be addressed as an emergency, and one of the questions in the OPEMRS is the patient having pain, what is the intensity of pain, and unless we fill that and finish the drug prescription, we cannot close the EMR. And so now we have a hospital that we like to say is actually pain-free. 2014, the CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing, department under the Ministry of Information and Technology, had a program, telemedicine program that they called Sanjeevani, and they wanted to test it in the Northeast. So they chose the local NIT to be their partner. Now generally government agencies will not choose a non-government agency to partner with. But Dr. Deshpande, his wife also had a breast cancer and he had already met us. So he decided to join with us. And so as part of the CDAC program, we opened a satellite center in 2 of the districts around us, in Hailakandi, in Lala and Karimganj. The program got over long ago. We are no longer using the Sanjeevani software, but the telemedicine centers, now they have become satellite centers. We have a healthcare worker trained there. The entire palliative care program for that district is run from that center. Now we are expanding. We have one in Barigram, we have one in Haflong, the 2 centers have now sprung up to 4 or 5 centers from where. So now we are trying to see that in each of these satellite centers, patients can come, they can have their chemo. They don't have to come to Silchar all the time. The nearest satellite center, they can take their chemotherapy, they can have their pain relief, palliative. A lot of things can happen from these satellite centers. So then Jeev Daya came forward and offered us support, and so we were able to recruit social workers, and then this is basically what I wanted to talk about. Purvesh Parekh, Dr. Purvesh Parekh is a medical oncologist. He visited us and he introduced us to the Indian Cancer Society. So the Indian Cancer Society decided to support us for patient care. Initially they started with the Cancer Cure Fund, and then the AKITF Arun Kurkure Fund started. So we started supporting patients for initial evaluation as well. The Indian Cancer Society introduced us to the NM Budhrani Trust. They support us. Somebody in the NM Budhrani Trust introduced us to the Savitri Vani Trust. They support us for expansion of palliative care services. Indian Cancer Society introduced us to the CAN Kids. So the CAN Kids, now we have a group of people in CAN Kids. We have Ramandeep, we have Prachi, we have Shalini. We have people who support our pediatric care venture over the net. Every Saturday there's a meeting. Then we work with the Sambandh Health Foundation for tobacco cessation. We were the first districts in the entire Northeast. All the 3 districts in the Barak Valley were declared tobacco free. Jewish Distribution Council, an organization in Israel, came forward. Actually, they came forward with a proposal for a tele-ICU. Initially, we threw it out because we could not think of an ICU being run without the critical care specialist on the ground. But then when it came back again, we decided to give it a try, and believe me, tele-ICUs work. They save lives. We have had patients with who had a surgery, who went into a cardiac arrest, they were revived, went into arrest again, revived again, went into arrest, revived a 3rd time, connected to the ventilator, tracheostomy done. On follow-up, tele-ICUs are a good way to level the ground when you don't have ICU facilities on the ground. And then with the ICMR, this is, in 2016, Government of India came out with this screening guidelines, and as part of that, they wanted the ASHA to mobilize the community to the sub-center where the ANM was supposed to screen them. And we thought that would not work, and we suggested that we would train the ASHA to do the triage examination in the homes. Tremendous opposition. Just so happened that Dr. Rath was there as the chairman of that committee, and he said, Karo, we will do this. And so we did the program in one district, And then we modified the program for a second district, and then we are modifying the program for a third. Each time it is morphing and evolving into something a little better. And now we are trying to see if this could be one of the models that as a nation we could explore. I think friend raising is more important than fundraising. We need friends all over the place to support us, and we've had visitors from all over the place. Every visitor has somehow added to what we are doing. And the thing is secret to this is a thing that Francis Peabody said more than 100 years ago. The secret to patient care lies in caring for the patient. And we had so many people for so many areas, supporting us in big and small ways. We never contacted Cipla Foundation. Cipla Foundation came forward to support us for palliative care. They supported us during disaster. When we had floods, they came forward to help us with flood relief, for food, for same way H.T. Parekh Foundation. We never saw it. They came forward. They supported us for our CT scan broke down, declared out of service in January of 2018 or 19. When H.T. Parekh Foundation called us, I asked them, our CT scan has broken down. They said, we will give you the CT scan. And in 2 months, we had the CT scan. And so, help, I don't know how it happened. The National Cancer Grid, another great initiative that many centers are now part of. We have group negotiations, we have training opportunities, we have weekly tumor boards. And so, it's a great way. And we have had peer reviews under the National Cancer Grid. We have a quality improvement program that we are now trying to train many centers across the board. And so one by one, so many people support us for patient care, for hospital development, for research. And without all of them, nothing would have been possible. We didn't know that as a hospital we needed to write a mission and a vision statement. We were applying for a grant somewhere, and they asked, what is your vision statement? I said, what is this vision statement? We looked at what is vision and mission. It took me a long time to understand the difference between mission and vision and purpose and all bewildering things, Somehow overnight we sat and wrote our vision statement. We want to become a state-of-the-art center that will ensure that no individual develops a cancer that can be prevented, that no patient is denied appropriate treatment for want of resources, that no patient dies in agony induced by cancer, and no family is impoverished because of cancer treatment. We have what is called Friends of Cancer Institute. We are obsessing about how do we carry this forward for the next generation. We are all in the midst of the battle. We are all passionate about it, but more people will join. And how do we? So we have Friends of Cancer Institute that help us, put our core values. We said our core values will be compassion, evidence-based care, pro-poor strategies, innovation, frugal innovation, teamwork, and gratitude. We actually, all of us sat down, wrote these values in a closed room. We had somebody come and help us create our anthem. And Naresh, we have so many of them trying to come forward to help us. The title is from a poem by Robert Frost. When a friend calls to me from the road, I have to pause and talk to him. I'm not so busy that I have to move on. Thank you very much.